Transforming your life through hypnotherapy has never been easier. With the help of your host, Julie from coachinghypnosis.net, and these power-packed minisodes, you're sure to find yourself engaging in more positive behaviors around both your physical and mental health. Here's your host, Julie.
G'day, it's Julie from coachinghypnosis.net, and you deserve to know the one Slay Negative Thoughts Hypnosis tip-off for 2022. Because people have had enough of being positive and not liking themselves at the same time. And I'm not a therapist or psychotherapist, but this is my 9th year as a clinical hypnotherapist in strategic psychotherapy. I currently help my clients online. They change their life without changing out of their pajamas. And I can only imagine someone like you with your high standards, a thirst for quality information on your quest of constantly igniting your leadership, already knows that memories trigger chemical reactions in the body. And if you create the best day ever, every day, it just leads to your body and mind to fall in love with life. But how can it all go so wrong and be so hard all the friggin' time? Because your fabulous brain and its hypothalamus, most importantly, link the nervous system to the endocrine system. It's responsible for regulating certain metabolic processes. Your hypothalamus has the richest blood supply. And as you know, every man or woman has their own homeostasis, our own genetic program which responds to our environmental circumstances and our sub-vocalized thoughts. When there are low levels of stress, there are high levels of the hormone ACTH. There are low levels of cortisol. And when the hypothalamus detects high levels of cortisol, it responds by decreasing the levels of ACTH. And that's just brain stuff. And as you can imagine, when you factor in the body and brain connection, you then have the brain which switches things on and off. The body starts making hormones or stopping them. Or if the body senses hormones are low, it starts making peptides. Congratulations, you've almost created a negative feedback loop. But it gets worse. If you have a memory that brings on shame, your midbrain starts producing shame. It passes a message onto the body and produces chemicals associated with the feeling of shame, as Dr. Joe Dispenza calls it, shanga, because shame also has a bit of anger. And this state produces a rich, multi-layered flavor. In other people, this memory of failure might produce sadness or feelings of helplessness or regret, regardless of the emotion. Once the signal is sent to the pituitary gland, the body comes alive, just as it does in flight or fight response. Instead of fear or survival, the motivating emotion is a product of the memory stored in your brain as shanga. The pituitary gland puts its spin on the message, and now the pituitary gland, along with the hypothalamus, cook up a batch of peptides corresponding to shame and anger, shanga, and those peptides are released in the bloodstream and make their way to various places in your body. The receptor sites in the body cells and glandular systems are scanning for a match for this emotion, and they attract those chemicals of shanga to them. And because in this imaginary circumstance, you made this shanga years ago, so your cells have now developed an outstanding number of receptor sites for shanga. And you've done so much more than that. You've just created a negative feedback loop. Congratulations. Or you can think of your body as 70% water, and it should look like a pond reflecting light perfectly, or even a crystal chip in a computer or the glass of a mirror. It should receive light perfectly and not be a washing machine of fast-drying mud from the swamp. You are more like liquid crystal. Just as a plant crystallizes light through photosynthesis, your beautiful, kind, loving thoughts let the light pass through to be re-radiated. But with negative thoughts, the light is condensed into negative crystallized matter and is held within the body. You are pure, a watery prism of light, and light is in all things. In fact, matter is simply crystallized light. Air is light that is crystallized into gas atoms. Water is an atom of hydrogen and oxygen in the air that have condensed or crystallized to form water molecules. Or maybe it was the light which shineth, which giveth you light, is through him enlighteneth your eyes, which is the same that quickens your understandings, which light proceedeth forth from presence of good to fill the immensity of space. The light which is in all things, which giveth life to all things, is by the law by which all things are governed, even the power of good, who sitteth upon throne of space, who is in the bosom of eternity, who is in the midst of all things. We are in space, and space is in us. We see this when we are physically pure prisms of light, but for now, our light is veiled by our impurity. And as you already know, negative thinking can result in a host of problems, including social anxiety, depression, stress, and lack of confidence. There are so many different techniques to remove negative thinking. In psychotherapy, there can be cognitive restructuring. We are asked to identify negative thoughts and analyze their accuracy to replace them. You can use a thought diary where you can record the transformation of negative thoughts. A diary is useful for learning negative thoughts and how they affect the way they react to emotions. But here is the one Slay Negative Thoughts Hypnosis tip-off for 2022. Create a positive feedback loop and fall in love with yourself. Today, fall in love with yourself. Let your heart beat faster at the prospect of spending an hour alone with such a fascinating, intricate, complex person. Let your heart fill with love as you think about how precious you are, how lovable, how compassionate and caring you are. Let your eyes sparkle with joy as you consider your sense of humor, that quirky way you have of looking at things, how blessed you are to have this lover always with you, always there. Someone who cares deeply and does everything possible for you. Someone who loves and appreciates you exactly as you are. Someone who requires nothing from you to give love and approval. For you are perfect exactly as you are. You are infinitely lovable right now. Fall in love with yourself. Give yourself everything you've been hoping to get from others. Give lavishly. Shower praise upon yourself. You are so blessed right now, just as you are. Let yourself feel and know this. Let yourself fall in love unconditionally right now. And you can say to yourself, I love myself completely and absolutely. I love everything about myself exactly as I am. I give permission to be me, glowing with fire inside. A fire bright enough to light up the world. Give myself permission to shine forth with all my wonder. Letting others see what I know so well, that I'm deeply precious and infinitely lovable. I am acceptance and love. I am joy. I am. So what if you thought about slaying negative thoughts differently? And what if you didn't? The choice is yours.